Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special presentation of Local Film Talk. I'm Bob Walters of Triangle Life TV, and I'm here to introduce this episode, which comes from our coverage of the 10th Annual Carrboro Film Festival. This particular episode is a workshop put on by filmmaker Rob Underhill, where he shares some of the knowledge he's gained from his extensive experience on the festival circuit, telling all you indie filmmakers the tips and tricks that he's learned for getting into festivals, for how to network and stuff like that. So I think you're going to find this really interesting, super helpful, and I hope you enjoy it. Real quick, I'll go ahead and give just a little bit of an explanation. My video was, for the beginning of this episode, was not very good. So what I decided to do was scrap the beginning of the video, which basically just includes festival director Nick Beery introducing Rob Underhill. Then Rob comes up, introduces himself, and then introduces a clip that he's going to show from one of his projects, the Carrington event. And then the clip played, and once that was done, the workshop itself started. So I scrapped all the introductions, and basically we're just going to go right into the trailer for the Carrington event as it was shown at the Carrboro Film Festival, and then we'll get back into Rob's presentation. So anyways, that's what's going on there. That's why a proper introduction is lacking in this one. My bad, my video was no good, but hopefully that's a good explanation. I don't think you're missing anything, and I think you'll still really enjoy this episode. I'll take a quick moment, of course, to thank Rob for putting on a great presentation and for being so generous as to letting me include the trailer in this episode. Also got to thank Nick Beery, who was kind enough to contact us and ask us if we would like to cover the Carrboro Film Festival. And of course the Carrboro Film Festival and the Carrboro Art Center for putting on a great event and letting us do all this. So thank you to everyone for making this possible. I hope you all enjoy it. So here we go. Without further ado, this is Rob Underhill's workshop on navigating the film festival circuit.
Melted the insides of car transformers.
The Carrington event is a once in 500 years occurrence.
This cloud is on a collision course for Earth.
Colossal-sized balls of turbulence.
Major damage and knocked out power to most part of Ontario.
Are we looking at days, hours?
Grandpa, what's happening?
It'll be all right, sweetie.
I've tried everywhere.
I can't get a signal either. No AM, no FM, no shortwave, no nothing.
So what happened? What about the power?
You haven't looked outside? Not going into town. All hell's breaking loose.
I know. Fuel's running low.
It's the city. Burning.
I would say we're authorized to use deadly force for our own personal protection. I mean, at least until the military gets things under control.
Nicely done. Right, that gives me shivers even still watching it. Jim McQuaid was a great asset on that. That's a good example of let everyone see your trailer many, many times before you finally release it. Because that trailer's been on YouTube for a couple years now. It's gotten 150,000 hits, probably. And if you've gotten that far along and you find out there's something wrong with your trailer, it's a little late to do something about it. Because when people look up the Carrington event, when they Google that, that's one of the top things they find is that trailer, which is totally awesome. So, of course, what to do about your completed film. releasing it to the film festival circuit and that sort of thing is such a huge topic. It's kind of its own job in itself. I've kind of undertaken that duty as a filmmaker, as a director. You've kind of got this underlying duty to everyone you work with to get the film out there, have it seen as much as possible. Things like short films aren't going to make money necessarily, so you're more doing it for visibility, to promote other projects, to promote yourself, and so you should do that as much as you can. And so I'm going to kind of breeze through some of the things you can do. There's way more to it. There's only so much I can do or tell you about. I'm here, for the weekend. I do like to be bought drinks and food, and massages are nice. Just depends how you're doing it. So let me start with kind of at the top here. When you're targeting film festivals, you don't want to throw your money around. You can easily go through tons and tons and tons of money. They're all $20 to $100 a piece for entries. They're a fortune. Your Academy qualifying festivals tend to be a fortune. So you really want to aim for ones like do the 5 seconds it takes to do the research. If you can bring up a web without a box for me. Without a box is one of the two I use. Film Freeway is my favorite one currently. And you'll find it under web without, okay, got it. Okay, so here's an example of the new Without a Box, which stole their ideas from Film Freeway. And it's pretty cool. They've got basically everything you need right there. If you can bring up the Film Freeway one as well, please, or next. And basically, it's a very, very short amount of description you got to get through to see that this is going to match the genre and niche they're looking for. You want to look, every year there tends to be a festival theme. So if your film doesn't quite match the theme you're going for, this is an example of my listing for Darhi. And here's a good example of every chance you get, advertise how cool your film is. Never stop telling them how cool your film is. When I first started, I was like, well, you know what? Part of art is that they're going to see this and they're going to love it. Well, the problem is they're going to see 1,000 films or at least 100, and they won't know anything unless you tell them exactly what to look for. I mean, their brains are probably fried by the time they get to your film at all, and they're going to want to have you tell them why they should care right from the get-go. There's no room for being romantic, being spontaneous, except for when you're actually at the film festival. That's a separate topic. Now, I don't mean romances, guys. Let's all behave ourselves out there. There's other things like you want to aim for festivals that are accessible, that you can actually get to. Some fly you out, some put you up in hotels. Those are great ones to aim for. They're probably going to be a lot more competition at those as well. Things like Cucaloris, I was at this year. They fly people in, for the occasion. It's pretty sweet. And there's other places you can check in a film festival or get your initial list. Things like go to filmmaker.com and find the films that are worth the entry fee, coolest film festivals, the top lists. For the actual film submissions, there's different query techniques you want to keep in mind. This is another thing you do. You never be shy. Always talk to these guys. Contact the film festival director. You'll be surprised at how often they talk back to you in a nice way. So find ways to query them. Like, hey, I've got this film. I think it's a perfect fit. What do you think? And they may just give you the standard copy and paste response, but they may not. They may say, hey, yeah, it does sound like a great fit. Send it over. And that's one more example of being on their radar as much as possible. Next subject I'd like to talk about is festival attendance. And also, an important thing is aiming for your world premiere destination. So the world premiere sets the clock in motion. Once that starts happening, you're basically on the clock. A year from then, you're going to start being disqualified from film festivals because you've been out for a year. That's kind of it's not released, so you can still release it to TV, to limited theatrical release if you got a feature, but you cannot really reset the clock for film festivals. So you want to set it for a big one, which helps with your whole PR campaign. And you always want to have a plan in that regard. So you pretty much, if possible, right? If possible, if you got money and a budget, get someone to do this job for you. Actually hire a PR person. It makes a huge difference. Actually get there's plenty of examples of bad producer reps, but there's also some good examples out there, and I can recommend a couple. So if you have a producer's rep, what they do is for a few $1,000s, they walk it to their buddies at the Academy qualifying film festivals and say, hey, take a look at this. If you do it yourself, they'll be like, psh, all right, but I'm going to take a look, but I've got this guy, this producer's rep that already gave me his picks, and I don't know. So there's a political thing going on here. There really is, and it's just kind of how it is. So the more you can leverage yourself, the better. You absolutely want to have a Facebook page. You want to have a website. Guys, it's so easy to make a website. Use Wix. No one cares. It looks awesome. I use it all the time. I think it looks awesome. It takes you one day to make an amazing looking website. You try to do HTML and pay some kid $5,000, it's going to look okay. Kind of garbagey. It's just the way of the world these days is free websites. Do it. Mine are like tombstones. It's just details that stay there forever. And if you want to see any real action, you go to the Facebook site. But that's just the way things are these days. And you want to have, so you kind of want to have a schedule in this whole thing. You want to have a timeline. It's really important that you set things in motion so you can capitalize on things as much as possible. If you want to get the news involved, the media involved, they really love things like world premiere or preview screenings or both. In the case of Darhi, we had a plan to have a preview screening a week before the world premiere. It's at the Pan-African Film Festival, the biggest African-American film festival in the United States. And a week before that, we had a preview screening. We got a lot of media out. WRAL came out and did a featurette on it. And that really helped get things rolling. So before you knew it, we were getting interviews from all the different kinds of destinations around the United States. We were on the radar for film festivals. Really, everything starts getting momentum and snowballing the more you put into it. Invite critics to review it. It can be small-time people. It could be, try for the big guys. I was lucky to have a couple of great film critics review Darhi and gave it great reviews, which really helped it move forward. If you can, you want a national press release so everyone knows what you're up to. If it's a socially significant topic like Darhi, the lynching of Emmett Till, you'll have interesting people contact you that want to help. Everything costs money. Everything takes time, resources, and the more people you can direct as a director to help move your project forward, the better, because it's all on you if you're the one that's trying to move it forward, and you need allies, as many as possible. And also, always refer people back to your own production webpage. If you don't have a production webpage, take time to make one. A production Facebook page. Self-advertising is so important, because not just because you want to get more gigs, we all do, but because you want to get people to support your projects. So when I put out a project and I say, hey guys, this is the new thing on the block, I've got some people that contact me right away saying, hey, I'd love to participate in whatever way, either volunteering or whatnot, and all this stuff really, really, really helps the process. Now there's a whole section on submission materials, and it's tricky. I recommend always using a cover sheet, always using one sheet. Now I'm going to have a Dropbox available. If anybody wants to email me and request samples of all the stuff, I'll give it to you, right, for free. And I've gotten some nice kudos. The Atlanta Film Festival for 2 years in a row sent me a message saying, hey, Rob, that was a wonderful cover sheet. Out of the blue, it was like, do you mind if I use it as an example for my students? I was like, well, heck yeah, man. And I'll take that as kind of like a positive review, too, for myself. You always want to have developed a postcard, a poster. These things are huge. They move your project forward. If you can bring up a postcard for the Carrington event for me. A lot of times I develop these just from really good stills from the actual production. In this case, it's a still image from 2 different stills that were brought together with the title, with the appropriate font for the project. You always want to have a trailer and or teaser. You want to always have a bio of yourself available. If you can bring up my bio photo, you always want to have a bio photo of yourself ready. There I am, drinking coffee. Very appropriate. Some bio photos show me drinking a beer. That's probably not always appropriate. So you always want to have also available behind-the-scenes photos. Some still require a DVD and or a Blu-ray. Always have those ready to go. You can buy all this stuff yourself. It's so cheap. Get a Blu-ray burner, get a DVD label printer. It makes a huge difference to have just that tiny bit more of a touch of professionalism. They will respond well to it, and they'll want to, give you a greater consideration, I think, the more together you are, and the more you present why this is an awesome pick for the festival. It's tougher with the entertainment stuff. I've got stuff that's more like Twilight Zone, it's more fun, and more based on fun, and it's harder to sell that than it is for a socially significant piece that's talking about social issues and that kind of thing. I understand that, but at the same time, you still try to go the extra mile, and you'll give them more fuel. They'll say, hey, well, I do want to program this because they've already basically come up with a perfect log line, perfect synopsis. It's a perfect fit for us. I think people respond to it, so we want to program this. Like even before, I've had this year, Seattle Film Festival, the big one, contacted me and without any submission process at all, requested one of my films. Said we want to program it, like straight up. That's as good as it gets. That's Academy Qualifying Festival. They said, just send me your film, we're going to program it. Well, and that I totally owe completely to preparation, having all the materials where they could see them presented, and thinking it's a perfect fit for part of their program. Capitalize on gains. Oh my gosh. Anytime something cool happens, you make sure people know about it. You toot your horn all the time. You're your own cheerleader. You're your own best cheerleader. You get a festival win, make sure everyone else is still pending consideration of your film knows about it. I do get 1 out of 50 that say, yeah, we already got your film. You don't need to keep telling us, right? But the other 49 are going to take notice. It's worth it. It's worth having one guy get irritated so that everyone else gives you a little more consideration. Because you've got something that won a whole festival, best overall film, best editing, best whatever, and everyone knows about it. They're going to say, okay, maybe I didn't look at this closely enough. Let's look at it again if they were kind of leaning against it. Or they're going to look at it and say, the first time, say, all right, with the right mindset, the very first time, say, yeah, this is a good fit, right? I want to jump to, I'm jumping around a little bit just to keep us on schedule here. So let me jump to kind of some questions. Anybody have any questions that are popping in their head right now as I go on and on and on? Anybody? Yes. Most difficult kind of situation? I would say the most challenging and exciting and the best kind of setting the standard for myself was the Emmett Till movie. We're still holding on to it. We've had some opportunities to get some limited distribution, but once you get it out in the world, that's another thing. You want to be aiming everything towards, laurels, credentials for your film are all great, reviews are great. We had the U.S. Ambassador do a review for it, a recorded review, which we've used to help advertise it. Film Threat gave it the highest honors. We got all this wonderful stuff to say, hey, this feature film needs to be out there. But until we get the right offer, it's not worth it. Because once it's out, it's out. You can't release it for the first time again. So we want to get like a good TV deal, get a good type of distribution deal. So we're just sitting on it. And until we finally release it, it's unreleased. So we're totally fine. But once you've released it, that's the other lesson here, is you just don't do it until it's ready. You just don't let go of the thing. You got to sit on it for 10 years, so be it. If I had unlimited time, I probably would have sold it by now, but I don't. I got to keep working on more and more projects. I do a lot of short films. I do feature films. I do commercials, promos, you name it. I love to direct, produce, edit, whatnot. I'm for hire. For hire. If anybody here is excited about that idea, just approach me afterwards. I could definitely be very reasonable, under $1 million. Who else has got a question? Very true. Oh, how much they're going to take care of you if you win or get accepted? That's right. Yeah, and there's all different ways. Like some do nominations at a time, and some will fly in the nominees. Like Julian Dubuque does that. They've flown me in before. Great festival. So a lot of them you can find out from. They just advertise it for one thing. Like some will say, if you are selected, you will be flown in, you will have a hotel room, whatever. Other ones, this is what I always do. If I get accepted, the first thing I say is, guys, that's awesome. I'm so glad to be a part of your festival, And do you guys have any accommodations or travel stipends or, So I immediately ask them, never be shy. You just ask these things because they'll either say, no, sorry, or they'll say, well, not really, but let's see what we can do. Which is, you'd be surprised how often that happens. Because they want you there. especially if you're like kind of on the short list for one of their honors. They would love to have you there. They can't tell you if you're going to win, at least they're not supposed to, but they will try a little harder to get you there if they're planning on, making you a highlight of their festival. Sometimes they will either make you, always offer to do workshops too. Why not, right? Just say, Carrboro Film Festival, I'll do a workshop. It didn't help me this year. I didn't get a film in, but sometimes it does. I'm just kidding, guys. Not really. No, I'm kidding. So you always say, hey, I'll do workshops. I'd love to, this is my film submission. And when you're accepted, they'll have that in their mind, and they'll say, okay, well, he's going to do a workshop anyway, so let's go ahead and pay for his expenses to get it here, and sometimes they'll go as far as flying you out, which is awesome, because all these festivals are not next door. You're going to drive anywhere from 2 to 12 hours to get to them, and you want to try to get to some of them. Like some of you just can't, don't force it. Some of them are just great opportunities, and you do want to be there. And so, yeah, I do recommend going anytime you can. Carrboro Film Festival is right next door. It always has wonderful attendance, lots of enthusiastic audience, lots of filmmakers, but also lots of eccentric artists in Carrboro who come and watch the movies. So it's a great place to showcase your work. I also love Cape Fear, Cucaloris. We've got a kind of a new Academy qualifying short film category at River Run. So River Run's a great place to take your short film. We, of course, have the Academy qualifying Full Frame Film Festival in Durham. So that's a great place for your documentary. In fact, I've got one in the works now based on the first African-American heavyweight boxing champion of the world, Jack Johnson. That's in the works. We've just received partial funding. So hopefully that's one of our top picks for where to have the world premiere for that documentary when it's done, probably this time next year. So we're definitely very excited about that. I've got 3 minutes. So does anybody have a couple of questions for me? 1 question per minute. Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Perfect examples. I've got a really wonderful, beautiful film called No Child. It's a featurette. It's 45 minutes, which is already a curse because it's such a weird time slot for festivals. We did hold out for basically half a year waiting for returns on Academy qualifying festivals because you want that to be your first pick if you can get it. We had a wonderful world premiere at the Julian Dubuque International Film Festival this year. We just had its first other screening last weekend where it took one of the top honors. In fact, it was the runner-up for Best Overall Film in Lancaster Film Festival. So it's off to a great start after that, but we did wait because each state it's in is a state premiere. Each region it's in is a regional premiere. So once it's in these states, it's North American premiere, if it's or world premiere if it's the first one. Once it's in Europe, it's a Western Europe premiere. Then it could be an Asian premiere. So you've got like whole regions that get special honors and do care when you give them a chance to premiere your work there. They give you a much better chance to be selected. There's been times I've had some films that were exceptional films that I was told specifically did not get accepted because of how much exposure it's already had in the state. It's like, well, this is played a lot, And I've even had one festival retract their offer for a selection because, like, oh, okay, well, we see you're going to be at this festival and we require a city premiere. And so since they both got selected, I had to drop the one. And that stuff can happen. So once again, you got to have a plan. It takes months for acceptances to happen, months. So you submit it, early submission for the best fee, and then you wait on returns from all your submissions. And make sure you're telling the festivals what's up. If you get selected for a world premiere someplace really cool, like Seattle, I made sure everyone knew about it because immediately it became more on the radar to be selected at their festival. I think I'm out of time here, guys, but one more quick one. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a great question. 15 or less for shorts, 10 or less if you want to get real serious. If you can do an awesome short in 6, you're going to have even better chances. So really shorter the better. Features, 90 plus really is where you want to be, though 70 on up is great. Darhi is 70 minutes, and it's been a great fit because it's more of a niche kind of specialty kind of film. But yeah, shorts, it's no man's land, no woman's land from 20 minutes to 90, pretty much. It's kind of a good luck range. I've had some good success. Some films do program a good number of them, but overall, in the big scheme of things, yeah, you're looking at 20 or less, preferably 10 or less minutes to showcase your short film. Well, thanks, guys. You've been great. Again, my name's Rob Underhill. RobUnderhill.com.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Carrboro Film Festival.